Right then, chaps, eyes front, mouth shut, and tea mugs away from the equipment, please. Tonight's lesson in supernatural survival and polite horror concerns a creature so ghastly, so thoroughly northern, it makes the abominable snowman look like he's on a ski holiday. I speak, of course, of the Wendigo, the eater of men, the hunger that walks. The Wendigo cadets hails from the great forests and frozen lakes of North America, territories belonging to the Algonquin-speaking peoples, the Cree, the Ojibwe, the Naskapi, and others who quite sensibly stayed indoors during blizzards. To them, the Wendigo is it's not just a monster, it's a hunger given a postcode. Imagine famine itself deciding it deserved a face, a body, and a bad attitude, and that's your Wendigo. Gaunt, skeletal, taller than a bad dream and twice as cold, skin stretched like parchment over bone, its heart ice, and its breath the smell of the grave on laundry day. And its presence? Announced by a foul stench or an unnatural chill that seeps into your boots and politely suggests, you die now. Of the legend, the story goes thus. A human, starving, desperate, mad with hunger, eats another to survive, and something inside him breaks. His soul freezes, his humanity flees, and what's left is the Wendigo, a creature cursed to roam forever, devouring without ever being full. Each victim it consumes only makes it grow larger, yet hungrier still. A paradox, wrapped in frostbite and horror. It's the embodiment of greed, a beast that proves that the more it eats, the emptier it becomes. Some say it's not born from cannibalism, but from possession, a malevolent spirit slipping into a weak mind and whispering, "Go on, just one bite, what harm could it do?" Spoiler, a lot. Descriptions differ, but most accounts agree on this. It's tall, it's skeletal, it's ash grey and has eyes sunk deep enough to lose marbles in. It may mimic human voices calling for help in the woods. It may appear in dreams before it appears in flesh. And when it finds you, it doesn't rush, because the Wendigo knows hunger better than you ever will, and it enjoys the waiting. There are whispers of it haunting hunting parties, appearing at the edge of camps, or walking across frozen lakes with just the sound of cracking bone beneath its feet. And if you smell decay, feel cold, and hear something breathing behind you in a forest that's otherwise silent, congratulations, you've earned your first and last encounter badge. Now, this is where the story turns clever. The Wendigo wasn't just a bedtime terror, it was a social instruction, a warning against selfishness, greed, and losing one's humanity in the face of desperation. In times of famine, the story reminded people to share what little they had, because to hoard, to consume others metaphorically or literally, was to become a monster. The Wendigo is, in short, a moral tale wrapped in fur and hunger, a reminder that the real world in the woods is often the bit of the woods that is still human. Now, fast forward a few centuries and the psychologists get involved. Never once to leave a good haunting unclassified, they coined Wendigo psychosis, a supposed culture-bound syndrome where individuals believed they were turning into or were being possessed by a Wendigo. Symptoms included craving human flesh and presumably being very unpopular at dinner parties. Reports, well, they were sporadic but chillingly real to those affected, and while the psychiatric community now views it as largely metaphorical, some of us in the Supernatural Defence Force suspect otherwise. You can call it psychosis, cadets, but I've seen the hunger that wears a face. Let me share one of the old stories. An Ojibwe village once heard the cries of a boy in the snow. He had escaped a Wendigo, a giant that had captured him and was waiting for him to fatten up. Every day the creature would slice the boy's hand with a knife, checking if he'd grown plump enough to eat. But luckily the boy stayed lean, partly from fear, partly from all the bloody running. When he was found by the villagers, he begged for help. They tracked the creature to its camp and then cut off its legs. They watched it crawl then, and in true nightmare fashion begin to eat its own severed limbs. When asked if it tasted good, it reportedly said, "Of course it does. I've eaten plenty of humans. They're delicious." At which point, yes, the villagers decided the conversation was over and ended the beast for good. A lesson in decisiveness, if there ever was one. Among the Algonquin peoples, there was a ceremony known as Wendigo Kan Zimowin, the Wendigo dance, a kind of mock ritual performed during times of famine, where masked dancers move backwards around a drum, symbolically rejecting the temptation to turn monstrous. It was both an exorcism and a comedy, a grim reminder that the line between man and monster was thin enough to dance on. The last recorded performance was held in Minnesota, long before we invented central heating or microwave dinners. Now, Professor Simon de Montfort, bless his tweed, insists that no physical Wendigo has ever been verified. According to him, the creature is either extinct or just allegorical. Personally, I find allegorical far too smug a word for something that eats you. The professor's current theory is that we call the Wendigo a manifestation of hunger-based possession phenomena. Easy to say, isn't it? In essence, a spiritual parasite that latches onto despair. A good reminder, cadets, that even feelings can get peckage. Still, he's asked us to stay alert. There have been thermal anomalies detected in the Canadian boreal forests, large humanoid cold signatures moving against the wind. There's either an equipment fault or an old nightmare is getting restless. And so the mission. We need a small unit for a reconnaissance and containment operation in northern Ontario. The professor has specified that all volunteers must meet at least 3 criteria. You must not have engaged in cannibalism. Seems reasonable. Must have a strong resistance to hypothermia and existential dread. And you must be willing to carry a flask of blessed maple syrup. Long story, don't ask. Bring your cold weather kit, silver bayonets, and the standard issue "Oh God, what's that?" reaction training. We depart at dawn, and yes, before anyone asks, no, you cannot bring snacks. The Wendigo smells hunger like sharks smell blood. And if you're chewing crisps in the wood, you might as well ring a dinner bell. The Wendigo is more than a myth. It's a mirror, a story that shows what we become when the cold gets into our souls, when survival eats morality and hunger devours reason. Remember that, cadets. Because the next time you hear the wind howling across an empty plain and you think you see something moving with it, don't follow it, don't answer, and don't assume it's just the weather. Okay, thank you, dismissed. And if the professor's wrong, well, best to make sure the creature's not hungry when we arrive, eh? Thanks for listening.